the key to succeed in life? You have two speakers here, two Hispanic prominent professionals. They reach their level of achievement because they are educated. You teachers are educated. Education, my dear young friends, is the key to succeed in life. What's going to happen here is very easy. You have two prominent speakers that are going to share some of the life's experiences. That's their job. Your job is to listen and to make mental notes, because you are going to be asked to write an essay. Well, let me put it this way. That reaction tells me that you're very normal. Who likes to write essays? Right? But let me tell you what's going to happen. 3 of you are going to be invited to dinner. Last year, I came here and I said exactly the same things. 3 of you are going to be invited to dinner. So happened that 6 were invited to dinner, because the essays that you people wrote were so good that there's no way that we disqualify 3 of 6. So I put the 6 in, and 6 people were invited to dinner from this school last year with their brothers and sisters, father and mother, and some other members of the families, and then the role models come and present you with a plaque. That is what's going to happen today. And all you have to do is pay attention and write the best essay you could write. And let me tell you one thing. There is a lot of talent in this audience. There's a lot of energy and a lot of talent. Let me tell you something else. I've been we've been presenting this program for the last 9 years to over 75,000 students from 3rd to 12th grades. And I find all kinds of questions. And every time I tell the youngsters that each and every one of you is a genius, whether you realize it or not, every time I tell them that, I feel good, because I know I'm telling you the real truth. And every time I tell you that you have the potential of reaching or achieving whatever it is that you like to be in life, whatever it is that you like to achieve, I find questions like, Mr. Torres, this happened with an 8th grader a few years ago. Mr. Torres, I want to be a doctor. My parents are divorced. I am a Dominican and I am black. What chances do I have to be a doctor in this country? My dear friends, that young man has all the chances. He's got all the opportunities. And if he wants to be a doctor, doesn't matter that he is a Dominican and his parents are divorced. Let me tell you a very quick story. Think of this. A family of 7, mother and father, hardly educated, Mexicans, California, 5 children. One of those 5 children, a little girl by the name of Ana Escobedo Cabral, at the age of 9, she decided that she wanted to be an employee of the White House later in her life. And she told everybody, I have a dream, I want to be an employee of the White House. And people laugh at her. And people remind her, look at your parents. They hardly know how to read and write. They're very poor. The father used to earn his living by collecting garbage in the neighborhoods and then selecting pieces of metal and things that he could turn into dollars. That's how he used to support his family. But his little girl, Ana Escobedo Cabral, had a dream. She wanted to be an employee of the White House. All of you have seen a $1 bill. I have in my hands an enlarged photograph of a $1 bill. Every dollar bill is signed by the Treasurer of the United States. Since I have a banker as a guest speaker, I'm going to ask him to read the signature in this $1 bill.
Ana Escobedo Cabral.
Ana Escobedo Cabral, the little girl, daughter of a very poor Mexican family in California, had a dream. She wanted to be an employee of the White House. And she now signs $1 bills. She is the Treasurer of the United States. But you know what? She also signs the $50 bill. Ana Escobedo Cabral signs the $50 bills. Better yet, Ana Escobedo Cabral also signs the $100 bills. Ana Escobedo Cabral had a dream, and she understood that for her to see her dream come true, she had to believe in herself, she has to be well educated, and she has to discipline her life. And she is the Treasurer of the United States. And the reason, my dear friends, that I'm telling you this story is because in this room there are a lot of Ana Escobedo Cabral. Yes, my dear friends, you could achieve whatever you set your mind to do. There is no limit in your mind other than those limitations that you put in it. Be Afro-American, be Mexican, be Dominican, be whatever it is, the one thing that you really are, you are creatures of God. You are intelligent, and you have the mental capacity to do anything you want to do. I heard somebody say, you are the architect of your life. And you really are. When I was a little boy, I wanted to be an interior designer. I am an interior designer. I disciplined myself. I understood that I have to be educated and that I have to believe in myself. If you don't believe in yourself, you tell me why anybody else has to believe in yourself. So we start with understanding two things. You are a genius whether you believe it or not. Number two, you must believe in yourself. And number three, now that you know that you're a genius and that you're capable of achieving anything in life that you want to achieve, and now that you believe in yourself, the number three is you have to respect yourself. I've seen a lot of intelligent people with a lot of potential that don't respect themselves. Oh, they believe in themselves, but they don't respect themselves. So they're defeating their own. Nobody has to push them around. They push around themselves. And with that, I'm going to introduce our first speaker, a young man that was raised in this area. I'm not going to talk about him, that's his job. A young man that was raised in this area. He is now the assistant vice president of and branch manager of North Fork Bank. His name, Jose Machado. Let's give him a big, big hand.
Good morning. Everybody hear me okay? Good morning. I want to say thank you to Save Latin America's Reach Our Dreams program for inviting me to speak to you today. And I want to just make one comment. Listen very carefully and take copious notes because there's an exam after this. No, I'm just kidding about the exam. There's no exam. There's just the essay. I want to begin by talking about how I began my life in this country. I graduated 3rd grade in Cuba, and that was in the spring of 1968. At that point, we came to this country, and I had 2 months to prepare to start the 4th grade. So in 2 months, I had to learn to speak English. Otherwise, I was going to be left back. I did that and started 4th grade in Roosevelt School. I went through 4th, 5th, 6th grade in Roosevelt School. And after that, I went to Jefferson School, which was then the middle school. So I went to 7th and 8th grade in Jefferson School. After that, I went to Union Hill High School. And in between DJing gigs, I did my 4 years in Union Hill High School. Now, after graduating Union Hill High School, I took a sort of a sabbatical from education and went to work. That's a decision that I've come to regret over time, but not a decision that I failed to correct. I did go back to school, and I graduated magna cum laude from Jersey City State University at the time, which is now New Jersey City University, right? I graduated with distinction, which in Latin, magna cum laude means with great praise. I've had 3 big career chunks in my life. One was in real estate. When I was 22, I decided that real estate was the future. So I began as a salesperson, and I did the minimum amount of time that you needed to become a broker. In 2 years, I became a broker, and I opened my own organization. And within the next 2 years, I expanded it to 3 branches. I was very successful. I traveled the world. I made a lot of money. And when the time came to end that career, I had all those experiences under my belt, and I realized that my hard work and that which I had learned in school really served me well. After that, I decided that I really enjoyed working in the community. So I wanted to contribute something back to the community, and I started to work in government. My work in government began as a legislative aide or an assembly aide. What that means is that the New Jersey legislature has sessions in which the legislators vote on bills. I was deputy clerk of the General Assembly in New Jersey, and during the days that there was no assembly, I worked in the Democratic caucus writing bills, working with legislators, writing bills, and preparing to introduce them. And with whom I served the community. I am on 60th and Bergen Line, and I have done full circle. I have traveled, I have become educated, and I have come back to West New York as hopefully your local banker. Just a couple of thoughts. There's a lot of things I can say about the importance of education, so I'm going to sort of pick one thing that I find to be really important.
So I started going to a grammar school. It was William Patterson, PS 17 in Jersey City. And I attended to the bilingual classes. And that was an experience itself because we were frequently teased by the other kids that knew English. So that being in that class and sharing so many experiences with the kids in there that did not know the language really brought us together, and it made us like a team players and support each other in those difficult times. And that kind of helps you even at that point for later on in life. When I finished grammar school, I went to Dickinson High School, and I know, it changed a lot. I graduated there the year 99, and through my high school years, I made sure that I was involved in different activities. And it's very important. I know you're going to hear from your teachers that, just get involved, clubs, sports, anything, and it's true, get involved. Because if you're not involved in those activities, many times you're involved in different things. And in many cases, those are not really that good things that you should be involved in. In those years, like you see it now, you see kids, you see students that they become premature parents. That unfortunately, that in many ways it becomes in the way of continuing their education. And that is something that you definitely want to be careful of. You want to make sure that even if you have children, it shouldn't be an excuse for you not to continue your education. When I was in high school, there were friends, there were students that became parents. Some of them dropped out, some of them continued education, and some of these people already have a careers nowadays. When I see them, it's really satisfying to see those people that at one point thought that their lives really got a bad turn, but they changed their lives around. And it's really up to us. Like Mr. Romero says, we all have the qualities, we all have the potential, it's in us to believe that we could make the change and be something in somebody's life. When I graduated high school, I was probably involved about 5 to 7 clubs, sports. I was the senior class secretary. I always like to get involved, getting to know the people, teachers, and getting experience through that. Regardless what minor role mine was during high school, I know I learned and that gave me some kind of experience to prepare me for the next step. When I graduated high school, I was not quite sure what I wanted to do. I wanted to be first a marine biologist. I love animals, so that's what I wanted to do. But I also wanted to be involved in a business role. So I was not quite sure of what I wanted to do. And my father always said, regardless of what you do, you have to continue studying. I don't care what you do. You can do anything, but just study. So until I cleared my mind, I said, let me just go to Hudson Community College. I attended that community college in the area. And I said, well, let me just get clear my mind and see what I want to do. I started there with psychology, then changed that to accounting, and I finally got my history associates on that. So it took me a while to say what I wanted to do. But during that time, I took in a part-time job. I was working in this real estate firm in Jersey City, and that was my first job. And like today, I was a little nervous. First time, just got out of high school. Didn't know much to do, but I knew some things. So I was hired by the broker, which later on, those people turned out to be like a real family. The owner, he was Italian, from Italian background, and I was the only woman in the office. We were about probably 15, there were 15 agents in the office. I was the secretary, started up to my position. the schools that were licensing for realtors. So he pushed me to get my license. A few years after I started working there, I got my license. And to tell you the truth, I never thought of having a job, a career that wouldn't have a fixed salary. Because as you know, realtors, we only get paid based on commissions. We don't get a salary. And that's a good thing. Because we're not set by what number. We could amount as much as we want. So it's really up to us how much money we want to make yearly. So that was the fear then, not being sure whether I could do the job, not being sure how, as the commissions come in, how often they're going to come in, because it's a process to do that. But soon after I took it, I got my license. I started working as a realtor. And here, 5-6 years later, I'm still a realtor. I enjoy my job. And this is one of the things I want to leave you guys with. Whatever thing you choose to do, it has to be something that you love doing. Because if you get a career, if you get a job, you start a career that you're not truly inspired with, it's not going to really serve you much. Whatever you do, whatever it is, be sure that you love that career. You love what you do. That's very important. Education is very important. Education will take you, in this world, as you know, not because we're Hispanics or whatever background we are, it's very competitive out there. So your education and experience will make yourself stand out of the bunch. And you have to make sure of that. Get yourself educated. Don't think because you don't have the means to do it now, there's always programs, there's always a way for you to get educated. I spoke with a lot of people, my clients themselves, when they own a property, and they tell me about their life, and I see, and yes, we all struggle, we all have our problems, but the main thing to have is the education, a good foundation. Not too long ago, I attended to this seminar. It was a motivational speaker, Anthony Robbins. He motivates people like Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, and he was really inspiring. You have to have a good foundation. One of the foundations could be, one of your foundations really is your faith, your beliefs, what you believe in. Regardless of what I believe you have to believe in something. I believe in God. And I know I put God first, my family, and then you have to put, whatever things that drives you to work. You also have to make sure that you take care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself physically and healthy-wise, you're not going to really be fit out there to be in the competitive world. You have to really take care of yourself. First of all, emotionally, physically, and then move on and keep on, choosing whatever career you want to do. Again, education is very important. I hope I give you some ideas of what you want to do in life. And the business that I'm involved in is a really rewarding business. Of course, the money is there, and that's always a plus. I can't complain about that. But it's not always about the money. It's about what you love to do. And education will get you there. I thank you for your time, and I hope I was of help. Thank you.
All right. How many of you have dreams? Let me see those hands. Terrific. Very good.